All right. Hey there, people. So, this is a bit of a spontaneous episode um, about anxiety. Now, why did I pick anxiety and why am I even giving this spontaneous episode? It's because anxiety is just such a prominent part of my life. All right. For people who don't have anxiety, especially social anxiety, that's what I have. I know there are other types of anxiety and other people deal with those, but social anxiety is just such a drag on my life. Imagine going into every conversation with this uneasiness, this discomfort. Like you could be talking to your grandmother and you're uncomfortable. Eh, it wears on you, but it also makes you question, the quality of your relationships, or if you're actually a good friend, or if you actually are a friend, right? Like, why do you feel these things that you feel, this discomfort that you feel around the people that you should love, around people who actually do love you? Um, it's tricky and it eats at your mind. And so every once in a while, I just need to get what I'm going through off of my chest. And today, it wasn't necessarily individual conversations. It was group conversations. It was work meetings involving 10, 15 people. Um, Positions where I have to explain technical topics, and that's really difficult for me because I've got to come up with a thought process. I've got to explain it concisely, and it's got to make sense to a wide audience of people. And I get inside my own head. I start thinking about, oh, are these people going to see me in this way? I envision myself almost externally, and when I do that, a, it takes away from my focus on what I'm talking about, which makes it more difficult to talk about what I'm talking about. And then B, it also just drives up my anxiety. And driving up my anxiety increases these thoughts, increases the number of thoughts, which then drives up my anxiety more into this spiral of doom, if you will. Like it almost always ends poorly for me when that starts to happen. And so learning to deal with that and learning to work through that is something I am trying pretty much with 100% of my effort to do. All right. How do I fight this anxiety? Do I repress all feelings of anxiety going on within me? Is that the solution? Do I focus on something else? Do I focus on, I don't know, the texture of my shirt, or some other physical thing, or on my breathing? Do I try to forget about all of it and keep my mind focused on the topic? And all of these things have proven to help. They all have helped, but they haven't done enough to actually defeat the anxiety in my life, even combining all of them. So, what I'm thinking is, and what I'm really hoping is the case, is that there's some level of like neuroplasticity within the brain to where I can slowly mold my brain to no longer think about the anxiety, to no longer make the anxiety relevant. And so I'm focusing on like the little conversations. Like how do I get through these conversations? How do I have more of these conversations that would spike my anxiety a little bit? And how do I prove to my brain that that's really not that big of a deal? And so I've spent tons of time recently, um, sometimes repressing my anxiety, but a lot of times just taking those intrusive thoughts, the ones that don't always cause anxiety. For example, like getting out of my car, I might for some reason be thinking, oh, the person behind me is watching me, or I might be eating at some point, and I'll be like, oh, what do I look like eating right now? And I'm trying to take these intrusive thoughts, and I'm trying to remind myself that I don't need to think them, remind myself that there's other things that I could be thinking about, and kind of tuck them away, kind of avoid thinking about them. And I'm hoping that if I do this enough and I continue to do it over a very long, very extended period of time, I might get myself to the point where those thoughts don't even appear anymore. And so, in some way, that may reduce the anxiety in those critical moments because those thoughts won't be there. So, as I slowly reduce those thoughts, I slowly work on my breathing, I slowly work on maybe focusing on the topic I want to talk about and not on these intrusive thoughts. I'm hoping that these things will all come together to slowly reduce the anxiety. And then by reducing the anxiety over an extended period of time, I'm hoping that my response will no longer be anxiety, right? Like once I've proven to myself that the anxiety isn't real, because it's not. I mean, it's just a figment of my brain's imagination, right? It's the same with pressure at work or insecurity. Like all of those originate and exist 100% within my own brain, right? I mean, because I could be feeling them and no one's even feeling a negative thought towards me, right? It's completely fabricated by my own head. And so if it's fabricated by my own head, then I believe there is the ability within me and the ability within my mind to take control of my brain and slowly eradicate it of these negative emotions. And so that's what I'm working on. That's my goal. That's my take on anxiety at the moment. I really hope a year from now, I will look back on this video and be like, I was right. Wow, I don't have anxiety anymore. And it's because I did these steps. Now, obviously, I think it's going to change. I don't think there's, it's when you're starting out, you never see the path all the way to the end. Or you may have a good idea, you may be pointing yourself in the right direction, but generally speaking, life does not follow a plan. And so I'm sure there'll be changes, and I will keep you posted as those things evolve. Anyway, thanks for listening. Peace out. Have a great week. And again, it's Kerry Carr. Bye.